We are in Sefer Halikutim, Tzemach Tzedek, letter Aleph, about Umot, haOlam, the nations of the world. We're on page Tuf Kuf Yud Tes. That would be 519, the last piece, the bottom of the page. V'lochein, and therefore, yesh lem oisher v'chavod, they, referring to the nations of the world, the non-Jews, have wealth and honor, glory, shaloi al pi cheshbon, not based on what they deserve, not based on a calculation, maaseh vadas, or based on what they're doing, or I don't know how to. Sorry.
Just 1 second.
I thought it was good before. I think we're back. Sorry about that. So again, page Tuf Kuf Yud Tes, the last piece on the page on the bottom. V'lochein, and therefore, yesh lem oisher v'chavod, they, the nations of the world, have wealth, riches, and glory. Shaloi al pi cheshbon, not based on calculation, meaning on what one deserves, maaseh vadas, or based on action, behavior, or logic. Ki yinikasam, because they're receiving nourishment, mechayus aliki, from a godly energy, from godly vitality, shenofal baklipos, which fell into the klipos, bishviras hakelim, through the Kabbalistic concept of the shviras hakelim, of the vessels in the world of Toya, of chaos, broke. Kayadua leyoidei chen, as is known to those that know the hidden parts of the Torah. So this acronym, Lamed Yud Ches, is, so to say, an acronym within an acronym. It stands for leyoidei chen, to those that know chen, and chen itself is an acronym of Chachma Nistara, which means concealed, hidden wisdom, which is a code for the Kabbalah, for the mystical part of the Torah. Vihu mustar, and it is hidden, umechuse, and covered, etzlam, by them. V'yimna, and it will withhold, meirishayim, from wicked ones, oiram, their light, she'enoi meir etzlam, that it does not shine by them, beiskalus, in a revealed way. Ki'im, rather, b'choshech kaful umechupal, in a doubled over several times darkness, doubled and redoubled darkness. Add, to the extent, shemakchishim, that they deny b'Hashem, in Hashem. And now he paraphrases or uses a part of a verse from Tehillim, from Psalms. Omar noval beliboy, the disgusting one, the wicked one, says in his heart, Ein Elikim, there is no Hashem. V'nirim, and they appear liyesh, to being an entity, to being something of importance and of substance, basically arrogance. V'davar bifnei atzmoi, and to being an entity unto oneself. In other words, again, lacking bitul, they are lacking their acceptance and their subjugation to Hashem. So that is what that's the result of the klipa concealing and hiding the truth. Parenthetically, Mivuar Bivreshis Rabbah, it is explained in the Medrash Rabbah on the book of Bereshis, Parasha Yud Beis, section 12. Shezehu Oir Harishoin, that this light that we're talking about is the first light, Shahaya Adam Harishoin Mabit Boy, top of the next page, Tov Kuf Chaf, that the first man used this light and he would gaze, he would look in it, Misoif haOlam at Soifoi, from one end of the world to the other end. So we know that Adam Harishon, according to the Midrash, had great vision. He was able to see from one end of the world all the way to the other. How could he see so far? That's because he had this light that we're talking about over here. Kevan Shera HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now once Hashem, the Holy One, blessed be He, once he saw Maise, the deeds, Dor Enosh, of the generation of Enosh, Vidor Hamabul, and the generation of the flood, Chule, etc., Gonzoi Mehem. Then Hashem hid this light from mankind. You know, originally Adam had access, he had revealed, in a revealed state, this light, and he could see. Then Hashem took the light and concealed it from people. Shenemar, as the verse states, Vayimna Merishoyim Oyram, and he withheld from the wicked their light. Be'Eyov Siman Lamed Ches Tesvav. This verse is in the book of Eyov, Job, chapter 38, verse 15. V'gonzoi, and Hashem hid it la tzadikim, for the righteous, la'asid lava, in the future to come, chuli, etc. Shenemar, as the verse says, tzadikim, righteous ones, v'oirach tzadikim, and the way or the path of the righteous, ke'or noiga, chuli, is like the light of shining, etc. V'cheinu, and likewise the same thing is stated, bishmois rabbah, another Medrash Rabbah, not that one was in Bereshis, this is in the book of Shemois. Reish Parsha Lamed Hey, beginning of section 35. V'cheinu, and likewise, same thing, a third reference, Bazoyar Chelek Beis, in the Holy Book of the Zoyar, volume 2, Daf Reish Chaf Dalet Soif Amud Beis, page 224, end of side B. V'daf Reish Lamed Amud Aleph, and likewise in the Zoyar, page 230A. V'inyan Nahira Kadma'a, and the idea of this earlier, this first light, which is apparently the way it's referred to in the Zohar, Nahira light Kadma'a, first. Zehu, this is Bechinas Ki Chafetz Chesed Hu. This is the idea that we're saying that Hashem desires, he wants kindness. Now, being that he is their light, or this light is theirs, Ki Yinikasam, because they're nourishing, Mibchinas Erech Apayim V'Rav Chesed Chuli, is coming from, as we keep on saying, in many of these sections he's saying this term, Erech Apayim, his long face, which we said means his patience and his infinite patience, tolerance, I should say, his tolerance, and he is Rav Chesed, great kindness, etc. Ach, however, Nimna Mehem, it is withheld from them, She'einoi Meir Etzlam Beiskalus. This great light is not shining by them in a revealed way. Ki'im, rather, B'choshech Chuli. They're in the dark. V'hainu, meaning to say, shenimshach mimenu lahem, that is drawn from him to them, to the nations of the world, rak, only, hashpoas chitzonius, an external flow of godly energy, sheloi becheshbein umida chuli, which is without any type of a calculation or limit or measurement, etc. Achein, indeed, gonzoi latzadikim, he hid it for the righteous. Shal zenemar, that with regards to this it says, Mo rav tuvcha, how much, how great is your goodness, asher tzofanta lireyecha, that you have hidden, tzofanta, you have hidden for those that fear you, meaning the righteous. V'hainu, meaning, shele'asi, that in the future to come, referring to times of Moshiach, yumshach will be drawn down, gilui zeh, this revelation, ha'or, of the light, shebivchinas ein soif mamish, which is literally infinite, mashelemaila meho eser spherois, which is higher than the 10 spherois. Yumshach will be drawn down, v'yiskala, and become revealed, latzadikim, for the righteous, bivchinas pnimius, in an internal way. So let me try to explain what I think the point that he's making over here is. On the one hand, it is true that the nations of the world, particularly the wicked ones, which actually deny Hashem, they're makrishim, they're deniers, and they get a lot. They benefit. So how does that work? So we're saying it's true because of the klipa, and because it's concealed and it's in the dark, therefore they do not need to receive according to fairness, so to say, and they are undeserving and they still receive. However, all that they get is all external. So it's not real, so to say. Of course, everything ultimately comes from Hashem, but it is not direct, or it's not coming with a way of light. Whereas the tzaddikim, who perhaps now don't have as much and don't have it good necessarily, they will have, and when they're going to get in the future, is going to actually be pnimius. It's going to be the inner light. It'll be the true godliness. So basically, it's a different, it's sort of a deeper way of saying that there's external and superficial, and then there's the internal and the deeper and the real and the true. So at times it looks like things are unfair, or like the age-old question that is mentioned in Pirkei Avos, and this is the centuries-old question: why do the wicked prosper and the righteous suffer? So this is one way that we look at it, that the wicked are prospering because all of their riches and all of their success and everything that they have is external and superficial, meaning where it's coming from. Whereas the righteous are going to have the real true, and really the world was privy to that initially, but it's because of the sins of mankind, such as the generation of Enosh and the generation of the flood, etc., that light was put away for tzaddikim. Parenthetically, there's an interesting story that there's a number of such stories. There was once an individual who was, he lost his oxen. He was looking for some of his animals, his oxen, and he came to the Baal Shem Tov to ask him where his oxen were. And the Baal Shem Tov had a Torah book open in front of him. According to some, it was the Zohar, And he looked inside, and he told this Jew exactly where to go, which city he will be able to find his oxen. And the explanation given is, how did he do that? How does that work? Because Hashem took this light that Adam had and that was privy to, and would be able to see from one end of the world to the other, and hid it for tzaddikim. Where did Hashem hide it? Where is it being, so to say, stored? So it's in the Torah. So therefore, righteous people that have vision, that they can look into the Torah and they can, with clarity, see things. So that's one explanation to how tzaddikim, how righteous people, can have the answers to things which are impossible to know. That's because they have access to this light. Now, there are, of course, the exceptions, because it was hidden, it was put away for tzaddikim. Okay. Let's start the next piece. We're on Omot, Tov Kuf Chaf, page 520. Hine, behold, Isa b'ma'oire oir ois ches, soif seif ayin hey. So it says in a particular Kabbalah Sefer, and he tells you exactly where it is over there. Cheshboin nikra hachachma. Calculation, to calculate, to have things add up, that is called chachma, or chachma is called cheshboin. Al shem, because of hamachashava, the thought. In other words, if you want to speak linguistically and you want to really analyze the root and of the words, so the word cheshboin, which means calculation, is actually the same root as the word machashava, which means thought. So the root letters, generally speaking, in Hebrew, 3 letters are the root. So it's ches, shin, beis. Thinking. Ukmashikosov gam kein al pasuk, as it is also written based on the verse, al kain, therefore, yoimru hamoishlim, the rulers will say, boyu cheshboin, come to cheshboin. Now that's a verse in the Chumash, and over there, the simple meaning is that cheshboin is the name of a city. But we explain that what does it mean that the rulers will say, let's go to cheshboin? Boyu, come, v'nachshoiv, let us calculate cheshboinoi shel olam, the calculation of the world. Let's work out the worldly affairs. Meaning, hefsed mitzvah keneged schara, the loss of a mitzvah versus its reward. Meaning, when a person does a mitzvah, when they fulfill a commandment, when they fulfill the will of Hashem, there may seem to be a loss, whether it's financial, whether it's time, whether it's energy, whatever it is. Now, that's true. On a certain level, the person is losing. But then, what's the reward? And let's see if it really pays. Let's make that calculation. How much does it cost you in time, in money, etc.? And what's your gain? V'zehu mi bechinas chachma, and this is coming, this calculation that you see how worthwhile it is, this comes from chachma. The oiraisa, for it says that the Torah, me chachma nafkas, comes out from chachma. So Torah actually comes from that level of Hashem's chachma, wisdom. V'hu bechinas, and this is the idea or the aspect, kav hamida, of the measuring stick, the ruler with which we measure. Shemisham nimshach hamida, that from there, from Chachma, from Torah, comes the measurement, v'hakitzva, and the limitation, al kol hashpois ruchnim v'gashmiyim, on all godly flows of energy, spiritual as well as physical. V'nikra maskila, and it's called maskila, which I think is the idea of a stick, meaning like a measuring stick. V'hinei cheshboin hanal hanizkar leil, this above mentioned calculation, hu nimshach is drawn down, lefi oifen ha'isarusa dilisata, is according to, it's relative to the, and this again, this acronym, the first word on the line, ha'isarusa dilisata. So it's really just two words, all those letters, which means the awakening or the arousal of below. We know that the system is that in order to receive godly energy from above, we need to do our service, and we have to have our arousal for Hashem, and that elicits, as it were, his arousal. So it's really dependent on what we do. And that's the cheshbon. So based on how much input we put forth, that's how much we will receive and gain. And as it says in Medrash Rabbah, Reish Parshas Re'eh, in the beginning of the portion of Re'eh in the book of Devarim. What does it say there? Quote, Miyoim she'amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, from the day that the Holy One, blessed be He, that Hashem said, Re'eh, see, Nasati lefanecha, I have given before you, Es hachayim ve'es hatoiv chuli, the life and the good, etc. That is a very, very basic verse where it says that I have given you life and good, and the opposite. And then it says, Uvacharta, and you choose. You are to choose for the good and the life and the right. V'ayin Zohar Chelik Aleph, Vayera Daf Kuf Tes Amud Aleph, and take a look in Zohar, the first volume of the Zohar, part 1, page 109a. Al pasuk v'hu misibois mishapech b'sachvuloisav haOlam chuli, based on the verse that says that he, for reasons, turns over with plots, with plotting, in order to effect. Vatikla, and this thing that we mentioned called the tikla, hu bechinas malchus, that is the final of the 10 spheroids, that is the recipient, that is the feminine aspect called malchus. V'mesabev hatikla, and what is the causer of this tikla? Hukav hamida, that is the measurement, that is the limitation of the measuring. Umahapech, and it turns over. Umesabev, and it causes lefi oifin ma'aseim shel bnei adam chuli, based on, according to, the way of the deeds of man. Ayin Sham, take a look there. So it all depends on how we behave, what we do. V'zeu shekasuv, and this is the meaning of what it says, Ki hinei kachoymer b'yad hayoytzer chuli. This is in the prayers that we say on the high holidays, that just like the material is in the hands of the craftsman, of the one who makes vessels, just like the potter, the clay in the hands of the potter. Amnam Amru Razal. However, our rabbis of blessed memory stated, Sham be'avos, over there in Pirkei Avos, which I mentioned before, Ein biyadenu, it is not within our hands, Mishal v'asar d'shoyim, from the tranquility, the peace of the wicked, V'afloi misayir tzadikim, and also not from the suffering of the tzadikim. You know, we don't understand the seeming unfairness. Upiresh Rashi, and Rashi's comment on that, Sheina Dover Yadua Lotnu, that this matter is not known to us. Madua, why? Derech Rishonim Tzleicha. Why is the way of the wicked successful? Why do the bad people succeed? V'hainu, meaning, Lefishu Marich Af, because Hashem is so tolerant and he is so slow to anger, so patient. Shebechinas Erech Apayim, that this idea of the long face, meaning slow to anger, Hubechina Shalamayla Mehacheshbain. This is something which is beyond, higher than the calculation of, so to say, fairness. The Hainu, meaning Lamayla Mebchinas Chachma, it's higher than Chachma. Shenikra Din, the Kavamida, because justice, righteousness, fairness, or measurement, that all comes from Chachma. Ukmashakosovin, as it says, Erech HaPayim Ugdal Chosed, that he is long to anger, and his kindness is so great. Umishom Dafkan, and specifically from there, Nimshach Lem Hashpa, where they receive their flow. So they're getting it from a place, from a level where it's not about fairness or making sense. It's from a very high level, as we discussed before, that it's the level of Keser, where over there it's higher than Chachma, which is generally where the Torah comes from, is from Chachma, and therefore in Torah there's fairness and there's logic and there's reason and there's reward and punishment, etc., etc. But here they're managing to get from a higher source. It's time. I think that we got to stop. So we'll try to remember exactly where we are right over here. I'll try to make a notation. So we are looking, Bli Neder, at next week.
Monday,
Thank Tuesday, you. Next week is Wednesday. Yeah, it should be okay.
I think we're okay, as long as it's okay with you. God willing, see you tomorrow night.
Yes, Bezras Hashem.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Turen.
Sure.
Thank you.
All the best.
All the best for you all.